Hello everyone, happy Friday. We're finally here. It is Friday, and unfortunately we do have homework, but it's not a very long homework, and I think we can get through it fairly quickly. So I'm gonna just go ahead and jump right on into it, so I won't hold you up too long on your beginning of your weekend. Now today we started lesson 15, session 3, and we are still working with area. Multiplying to find area, but today we're more so focused on looking at if one, like say for instance a room, if one room area was greater than another room's area. So we're looking at that today. We're like comparing areas. So we're just gonna go ahead and jump in today with the homework, which starts on page 329. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me get my pen. And it says for number 1, Roberto's desk is in the shape of a rectangle that is 4 feet long and 2 feet wide. What is the area of Roberto's desktop? Fill in the blanks. Okay, so they tell us, let's look at our important numbers. They tell us that the rectangle is 4 feet long. Oh, I forgot to put my pen on, guys. There we go. It is 4 feet long and 2 feet wide. Now, long means length, and wide means width. So make sure you label, because you know Ms. Newman loves a label. If we label things ahead of time, it makes it easier for us to know what information goes where. So we know that we have the length and the width, so all we have to do is fill in these blanks because it says to fill in the blanks. Okay, so the length is 4 feet. The width is 2 feet. Okay, and then when we multiply our 4 times 2, that will give us an area of 8 square feet. And remember, when we are doing area, you have to make sure we use our special word of square, because we're trying to figure out how many squares can fit into a shape or how much space is inside of that shape. Okay, so now we can answer that question. It says, what is the area of Roberto's desktop? Well, that area would be 8 square feet. Okay, that is number 1. Moving on to number 2. So number 2 says, show how to find the area of this rug. So we have this rug. Here's a picture of a rug, and we have the length and the width as well. So they put the length this time on the bottom. You can put it either on the top or the bottom. So I'm going to just label that this 5 feet is my length. And then I'm going to label that the 3 feet is my width, because the width are the sides, how wide it is. So it is 3 feet wide. Okay, so now that we have labeled, all we have to do is follow the equation of writing a multiplication sentence to find the area, because it asks us to find the area of this rug. So remember, it's length times width equals area. So the length is 5 feet, and remember, we use our units when we're dealing with measurements. So we use 5 feet times the width, which is 3 feet. And when I multiply that, 5 times 3, that is 15. And because this is area, and we're looking at how much space this rug covers, it is square. Make sure we use our special word, square, and then feet. All right. And that would be the area of that rug, 15 square feet. And I can put it in a box just so that you know that is our answer. Okay, let's go ahead and go to number 3. So number 3 says, Vera buys a rug like the one in problem 2. Okay, so Vera decides to go to the store, and she says, okay, I'm gonna buy me a rug that looks like this. So Vera's rug is a square though, and remember yesterday we talked about squares and how squares was a special shape, because what's so special about it, all sides are the same, it's equal. So if one side is 4, then all sides are gonna be 4. So that's what's so special about a square. So Vera's rug is a square. It has sides that are 4 feet long. Does Vera rug cover more or less area than the rug in problem 2? Well, before we can answer that question on if it covers more or less, first thing we have to do is figure out what is the area that Vera's rug covers. And how do we do that? Let's draw a model, because it's easier when we can draw things out and see it. It makes it a little clearer when we do that. So let's go ahead and draw her rug, and because Vera's rug is a square, we're going to draw a square. And Ms. Newman, again, is going to attempt to make this as equal as possible, but again, this is me freehanding, so I'm going to try. Okay, it looks a little crooked, but I apologize. So they tell us that it has sides that are 4 feet long. So again, long means length. I'm going to put that here because length is top and bottom, either the top or the bottom. But remember, this is a square. And what's so special about a square is that if one side is 4 feet, then all the sides are 4 feet. So not only will my length be 4 feet, but my width also will be 4 feet. That's why they only gave us one number. So we're going to go ahead and put 4 feet for the width. So now what we're trying to figure out is the area of that square. So again, we can always go back to our equation that we have in number 1. That's our model. So it says length times width equals area. So that's what we're going to do. So the length is 4 feet. So I'm going to write 4 feet, and remember to use those units, times our width, which is also 4 feet. And when we multiply 4 times 4, this gives me 16. And don't forget, because this is area, we use our special word of square, and then our unit of feet. So Vera's rug is 16 square feet. So I'm just going to write on the side that this is Vera's rug. So that's Vera's rug. So the rug from problem 2, let's go back to problem 2 because it asks us to look at problem 2. And they want us to compare the two. It says, does Vera's rug cover more or less area than the rug in problem 2? So if I look at Vera's rug covered 16 square feet. Now, the rug in problem 2 covered 15 square feet. Well, clearly, Vera's rug is going to cover more because 15 is more than 16. It's a bigger number. So the answer to that question is going to be Vera's rug covers more than the rug in problem 2. And it asks us to explain. And the reason why is because 15 is greater than 16. I'm sorry, I said it backwards, guys. 16 is greater than 15. All right. And we have started something in our math centers. We've been doing math centers lately, and we've been looking at story problems and doing a process called RDW, which is read, draw, write. And so basically what that requires when we're looking at a story problem, like this is a story problem because it's about Vera buying a rug. What we do is we read the problem, that's the R, and then the D is draw. So we're going to draw out our model. And then we're going to write that's the W. We're going to write the equation, and then we're going to write the word sentence. So if you have all 3 of those things, then you have a complete problem. So we've been in the practice of trying to make sure we have all 3 of those things when we do a story problem. So make sure you guys are doing all 3. Okay, let's go ahead and go to the next page. And remember, I'm going to have to erase this because I'm going to have to go to another page. And that page is going to be 330. Okay, so I'm gonna do number 4, and then I'm gonna scroll the board up when we get to 5 and 6. So let's look at number 4. Number 4 says, Aiden prints a rectangular photo that is 4 units wide and 6 units long. So Aiden is printing a rectangular photo. His photo, I'm gonna underline, now we can circle, is 4 units wide, 6 units long. Remember, wide means width, long means length. Okay, now let's keep reading. Bella prints a square photo. So Bella's photo is square. That's important. Remember, Aiden one was a rectangle. So Aiden had 2 different numbers because his is a rectangle. Okay, Bella's is a square, so automatically we should be thinking Bella's just going to have 1 number because squares are special. They only get 1 number because all sides are the same. So let's keep reading. It's 5 units long on each side, and we were correct. They gave us just 1 number. Okay, so it says, draw the photos and label the side lengths. Write the area for each. Okay, so let's start with the first thing. The first thing they asked us to do was draw the photos. So let's start with Aiden's. So Aiden's one, they told us is 4 units wide and 6 units long. So I'm going to start here and I'm going to draw 4 units wide. So 4 squares, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and how we can tell with this is think of it as an array, 4 rows, so we can do squares. You see how that looks? So this is how I know it's 4 units. 1, 2, 3, 4. So remember, we can think of a rectangle as an array. I would have 4 squares. So I'm going to go ahead and label this as 4 units. Now, they tell me it's 6 units long, so I'm going to do 6 squares going across. So this is, we started out with 1 square. This will be 2 squares, 3 squares, 4 squares, 5 squares, 6 squares, okay? And now we can just close in the rest of our rectangle. And there we have it. So this is 6 units long. All right, and they asked us to label the side lengths. Well, Ms. Newman went ahead and labeled the side lengths as I was going. So we did that. Then it says to write the area. So they want to know what's the area of Aiden's. And I'm going to go ahead and label Aiden's. So I'm going to put his name on it. This is Aiden. So if I want to figure out what is the area of each of these, we can continue drawing in the squares if you like, and then do a skip count on the side, or we can count the squares, or we can just go ahead and take our numbers, our length and width, and multiply them. I'm going to do the length and width since that's what we're practicing here. So the length is 6 units. I'm going to do 6 units times the width, which is 4 units. Okay, then we're going to multiply that. Well, 6 times 4 is going to be 24. And because this is area, we're going to use our special word of square. And then the unit is units. So this would be our area for our Aiden's. So now we've done Aiden's rectangular photo. Let's go ahead and do Bella's square. Remember, hers is a square, so hers is special. So we're going to go ahead and get started. It said it's 5 units on each side, so that means the length and the width is going to be 5. So let's get started here. So I'm going to start with my 5 squares. This is 1 square, 2 squares, 3 squares, 4 squares, 5 squares. All right, that's 5 squares, and I'm going to label it because they asked us to label, so this is 5 units. All right, and now we're gonna go ahead and go to the width. I'm sorry, I did the width first, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and do the length now. My length is gonna be 5 squares. Let me make sure I have enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Still has just enough. It worked out. So let's do our length. So this is 1 square already, 2 squares, 3 squares, 4 squares, and 5 squares. Okay, so I'm gonna label, this is 5 squares, that's 5 units. And now we're just gonna close in our square. All right, that's our square. So this is Bella, so I'm gonna go ahead and label this one as Bella. Okay, now we need to find the area. And how do we find that? Well, that's going to be length times width. So our length is 5 units. I'm going to write 5 units times the width, which is 5 units. And this will equal, well, 5 times 5 is going to be 25. So I'm going to write 25. And this is area, so we use our special word of square. And then a unit is units. So Bella's is 25 square units. And Aiden's is 24 square units. So if I look at this, I can ask you a question. Whose photo has the greater area? That answer would be Bella, because she has 25 and Aiden has 24. And 25 is greater than 24. Okay, so that is it for number 4. Ms. Newman is going to go ahead and erase this so that we can move on to 5 and 6. Okay, so this is 5 and 6. So 5 says, draw and label a rectangle that has a lesser area than the area of a square that is 3 units on each side. Write the area of the rectangle. So they want us to draw a rectangle that has a lesser means not as much, smaller. So the square that is 3 units on each side. Remember, square is special, so they're gonna give us just that one number. So let's start with our square, because first of all, we need to know what the area of the square is. We don't know what that is yet. So we can't draw the rectangle unless we know what the square area is. So let's start with the square. Okay, so this is going to be 3 units for the length. And remember, it's because it's a square, the width also is going to be 3 units because all sides are the same. Okay, so we need to figure out the area. So I'm going to put a question mark on the inside because we're trying to figure out how many squares or how much space I have inside of this square. So to do that, we're going to use our multiplication equation of length times width equals area. So the length is 3 units times the width, which is 3 units. And 3 times 3 is going to be 9. And this is area, so special word square with our unit of units. All right, so we know that whatever rectangle we draw, it has to be smaller than 9 square units because it has to be less than or lesser. Okay, so let's think about this. Okay, if I want to draw a rectangle, so being that we're drawing a rectangle, we will not have the same number on both sides. So we can't use 3 and 3 because we can't have the same number. They asked us to draw a rectangle. So rectangles mean that they're going to have 2 different numbers for the length and the width. So let's go ahead and start with the rectangle. Okay, so to do that, to make it lesser, what I would suggest you do is to pick one of the numbers. It could be the length or the width, whichever one you prefer, and making it a smaller number. So since it's 3, you can make it a 2, or you can make it a 1. Either one would work, but it has to be smaller in order for us to get a smaller area. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to keep the length at 3 units, and I'm going to decide to change the width. So I'm going to change the width to 2 units. Now I'm going to put my question mark on the inside so I can find the area of how much space I have inside of my rectangle. And I'm going to do that by doing my equation for area, which is length times width equals area. So this is going to be 3 units times 2 units. Don't forget to write those units. And 3 times 2 is going to be 6. So I'm going to put 6 here. And because this is area, we use our special word of square and then the word unit for our units. Okay, so let's go back and read. So it says draw and label a rectangle. So that we drew the rectangle and we labeled it. That has a lesser area than the area of a square that is 3 units on each side. So this is a square, 3 units on each side, and the area was 9 square units. So it says write the area of the rectangle, and we wrote the area of the rectangle over here. So our area of the rectangle was 6 square units, and it is lesser than 9 because 9 is greater than 6, or we can say 6 is lesser than 9. So we did our problem correctly. Okay, let's move on to number 6, which is going to be our last problem. So number 6 says, Ron buys a rectangular rug from his room. So when I see these keywords, rectangle and square, my mind automatically goes to, hey, rectangles, two different numbers. The length is going to be different, the width is going to be different. Then when I see square, my mind goes to, hey, squares are special. So it's only going to have one number and all sides are going to be the same. So if you would like to get into that same thought pattern like Ms. Newman gets in that thought pattern, it gets you ready for the numbers that's coming your way. So let's go ahead and do that. It says, Ron buys a rectangular rug for his room. So I know that I'm getting ready to get 2 numbers because it's a rectangular rug. And I'm going to have 2 numbers, one for the length, one for the width. So let's keep reading. And I'm going to underline that keyword, rectangular. So it says the rug is 8 feet long, 5 feet wide. See, Ms. Newman was thinking correctly. They gave me 2 numbers. One was 8 feet long, the other 5 feet wide. Now we're going to label these because you know Ms. Newman loves a label. So 8 feet long means length. And 5 feet wide means width. Okay, so let's keep reading. The floor in his room is shaped like a square. Square. When I see square, first thing pops in my head, squares are special and they get 1 number because all the sides are the same. Let's keep reading. So the floor in his room is shaped like a square that is 10 feet long and 10 feet wide. Oh, did you see what they did? Well, let's look at what they did. First of all, I'm going to underline that keyword square. But this time they gave us 2 numbers. 10 feet long, 10 feet wide. Again, long means length, wide means width. Now, I know Ms. Newman has been telling you all this time when you get square, you only get 1 number because all sides are going to be the same. Well, guess what? They tried to trick us up. They gave us 2 numbers. But guess what they did with those 2 numbers? They made them the same number. So even though they gave us the 2 numbers, it's the same number. So they could have just given us just that 1 number. But they decided to trick you up. But because we know better and we are super smart and we are mathematicians, we are not going to fall for that. So we know that square is really going to be 1 number, 10. Even though they gave it to us twice, it still doesn't matter. Okay, so let's go ahead and keep reading. It says, how much of the floor in Ron's room will not be covered by the rug? Okay, so they want to know how much of the floor the rug will not cover. Okay, we can figure that out, no problem. We're going to do it step by step. So we're going to go back to the beginning, and we're going to start with our beginning. So Ron has a rectangular rug. Let's draw a rectangle. Okay, and they tell us that the rug is 8 feet long, 5 feet wide. So we know the length is 8 feet, so I'm going to put my length up here as 8 feet. And they tell me that the width is 5 feet wide, that's my width. So I'm going to put 5 feet for my width. And then I'm going to put a question mark on the inside. So we need to figure out what's the area of that rug. So let's go ahead and figure out. We're going to use our equation like we've been using. Length times width equals area. So the length is 8 feet times the width, which is 5 feet. Okay, then we're going to multiply this. 8 times 5 is going to be 40. And because this is area, we use our special word of square and then our unit of feet. So we know now that the area of the rug is 40 square feet. So now we're going to keep going. Let's go to the floor. It says the floor in this room is shaped like a square. Okay, let's draw our square. Okay, so this is our square, and it tells us that it is 10 feet long. Long means length, so I'm going to put that here. And then it tells me that it is 10 feet wide. So wide means the side. I'm going to put it over here. And then I need to figure out the area of that square. Okay, so let's go ahead and use our equation. Length times width equals area. So the length is 10 feet, so 10 feet times the width, which is also 10 feet. Okay, let's multiply that. That's some big numbers, guys. 10 times 10, but I know we got this because we some smart mathematicians. So 10 times 10 we know is 100. So let's go ahead and put this as 100. Okay, and this is area, so we use our special word of square, and we use the unit of feet. So it is going to be 100 square feet. All right, so now we know the area of the rug. So I'm just gonna go in and label this as the rug. And then we know the area of his floor. The floor is here. Okay. Now, I know I didn't draw that to portion, but I should have. Because I don't want you to be like, this one is gonna cover that one. Miss Newman should have really drawn that to scale, but unfortunately, I am doing it by hand. So really and truly, this one should have been smaller and this one should have been bigger. So just think about it that way, because I don't want you to be like, well, this can cover that, so we know it's gonna cover. No, Miss Newman didn't draw it to scale. Sorry. So let's keep going. So it says, let's go to the question. How much of the floor in Ron's room will not be covered? So let's figure it out. So we can do this by subtracting. We can take the 100, so I'm going to do the subtraction over here, 100 minus the rug, which is 40. Make sure you line up your numbers, ones with ones, tens with tens, and there's not another number to put in the hundreds place, so there should be a no number underneath the 100 in the ones place. I mean the one in the hundreds place. So let's go ahead and subtract. So we have 0 minus 0. Well, 0 minus 0 is going to be 0. Okay, moving on to our tens place. 0 minus 4. Well, I can't subtract 0 minus 4, so I have to go to the hundreds place, knock on my neighbor's door, and say, hey, can I borrow one? And my neighbor is so generous. He was like, you know what, you can borrow the one I have. So they're going to let me borrow that 100, and I'm going to leave them with 0. they're very generous. So we're gonna bring that 100 back to my tens place, and I'm gonna have 10 here. So 10 minus 4 is gonna be 6. Okay, so that is how much of the floor that is not gonna be covered. So we can go ahead and answer the question. It says how much of the floor will not be covered. We will say 60 square feet of the floor will not be covered. All right, guys, and that is it. That is all of our homework. We got through it with time to spare. Now we can go and enjoy the rest of our Friday and the rest of our weekend. I will see you guys on Wednesday because Monday is review day. So we will be doing a review, and whatever goes home, make sure you review it for our quiz on Tuesday. I will see you on Wednesday. Have a great weekend. Bye.